Alright everyone, welcome back to Glacial Storm 4 Creative Process. And this video we will talk about the lead parts, the solo parts. I'm not gonna go into the plugins that I use and the sounds that I wanted to make. That will be for another video. We're just gonna talk about the notes and how I fit them. And yeah, this probably will be a good video to watch with right before you watch the next one, which will be focusing on the synths and the sounds that I wanted to create. So yeah, let's go right into it. This video is going to be such a mess because for the last one I kind of had a script in my head. For this one I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to go and see what happens. So if you remember the last video, I talked about how I came up with this kind of thingy, but then later we have this what I call intro unison, which goes exactly like this. So yeah, what I wanted to do for now was to just focus on the main. Oh, let me go a bit up here. Yeah. So you see here, I probably should move the webcam to the right. Yeah, it looks better now. So you see here that I focused on the main sounds. Oops. Which came from that last thing that I told you about, and all of these were just complementary notes. You know, I tried a few of them. Some did feel well, and some did not. So what I was most missing in this part was to just have this kind of support here. So I added a lot of D's here. Then changed the A to an A sharp, B flat. For this part, a G, which is kind of the chord progression goes, you know, D minor, B flat, and then you sneak in some G without a G5, I guess. And then we end up with the main Glacial Storm melody. But instead of doing it like, let's do this quick change here. Instead of doing it like up here, just kind of wanted to have this descending feeling before I went back up straight into the first note here. So it kind of feels good, right? And alright, for the next part, I did add the piano here, which is basically the same thing. Up here. Except what I did was to do this kind of a bassy part of the piano, the low end part. I just went from just kind of da da do do da 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 do da da da. Because it kind of goes well with the right, that part is pretty obvious, there's no need saying that. Alright, so there's this little part that I decided to speed up. Then we have the first intro solo, yay, which is the trill part. So yeah, I decided to go for one of them just doing the really tap notes, you know, without the root note that you're beholding while you're playing, just to give a little emphasis there so you feel that you're playing that without sounding just like all of them in the same level. So it gives you, for me at least, a bigger sense of reality when you're playing that pattern. But this was just for one plugin, if I recall correctly. The other one has both of them and on the same level. So you see how it was necessary to add a second plugin to kind of give a little more focus on the lead part that I wanted you to play. So yeah. See how it sounds a bit choppy? choppy. Is that right? I don't know. That's what kind of gives me the sense of reality when you're playing that kind of note, that kind of pattern. So yeah, intro patterns. So those are the trips, and contrary to most of my older songs, I did do all of the real notes here. So yeah, for this I decided to have on the same level all of the notes, no exceptions, because when you're playing a trip section, for me it feels like you expect a huge sound with it. So to not give any focus more than it was needed, I decided to just keep it all on the same level. And for the notes themselves, this was fairly easy. Just follow the chord progression, right? So you have a D here. You see that those are perfect 12-step notes. 12-step notes. I don't even know if that's a thing, but you get the thing. Those are the octaves, perfect octaves. Fuck. How did I forget that? So it feels whole. And for this last part, I decided to just blend it with some G and C, throwing an E in the middle here because we're on the G on the rhythm part, which gives the perfect pretext for me to go back to the main melody that I created. Again, octaves. And this part I decided to go a bit wild, even though I start with I was just leaving from the perfect octaves. This I just went for a sort of C vibe because that's the chord that was playing on the background. So from there I just thought, well, which notes that go well with the overall chord progression, that those were easily E, G, A, and C again. Alright, Voltex chorus lead, we talk about that, but the variation we did not. So yeah, here you will see the notes that I used to do that section. If you pay close attention, all the note, every other note is the same note that's appearing on the regular melody. So at least if I recall correctly, right? Let's just see there. If I do this and sort of overlap it here, we should see similar notes. Oops, there's a beat over there. Alright, fuck you. Just drag it back in. So you see, the notes blend perfectly. So what I did is just I reduced the size of each note and tried to fit in more notes that sounded the same, that were in the same progression that I was creating. So that's how I did it. There's no secret to that. You just take the notes that you have it, and you want to give an extra thing to it. You just chop it down in half and try to fit your way, fit notes in the way. And perhaps it will sound good, perhaps it will not. You will spend a lot of time doing this, as I did. So, but the result can be satisfactory. Right? Feels good. It feels good. So just have to keep. It's basically trial and error. Just create this kind of stuff and see how it sounds like. If there's a particular part you don't like, just try to change the notes. Which is probably what I did in this particular part, which is a perfect quad. I probably tried to do something different, like descending and mixing with descending, but it didn't sound right. So all I did is just went to the normal route. There's no shame in doing that. Kind of gives a fulfilling part to it. That kind of chord thing. So yeah, I went back to the main melody and went to the intro strumming. Pretty basic stuff. just added the root note for each of the chords that I was playing and chopped them down in a quarter, I guess, to repeat it. In fact, I chopped it more than a quarter because if you see right here, there's a little space between the notes, because I wanted to have that kind of space, so when you're playing it, it doesn't feel like these two notes, for example, will form a single note. You know, you need a space so you can give it the feel that you're playing two notes, which is the strumming part on the chart. So yeah, that's a good thing to do if you want to give focus that you're playing two different notes. Just chop it down a little bit and you will get a good sound from it. Alright, I need to rush because I am out of time. So guitar variation, as you could see from the last video, this is the melody that I came up with. But we're talking about leads here, so I kind of wanted to do something that would require you to strum and tap in a short period of time. But after I played it, I realized that 3 notes only you can easily one-hand them, which is why on the Plus version they are 4 notes, so you have to tap those. Fuck you. So yeah, for this was quite easy. I just overlapped it with the same melody that I was looking for, and then just chopped down the notes and try to find similar notes here. So yeah, just add the root note to this part, and for the rest of those, just try to find notes that fit into the chord progression. So the root note here was an A sharp, or B flat, so I just added an F here, which matches here, so it gives the perfect sense of descending. But if you pay attention to these parts, I added a little harmony here, just because it sounds cool, and it would be more difficult to do a chord while doing all of that, right? So yeah, that's how that came into existence. Okay, so for this part, I'm gonna lose a lot of time here. I did the solo before I did the actual support of the part, the rhythm part, which is here. Alright, for this part, I just sit here in FL Studio without any instrument and just felt like, okay, let's try to create a solo that fits the overall notes that I use in Glacial Storm, which are mainly okay, sorry, for D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, and D again. So yeah, those 7 notes that I use here. As you can see, those are the most used notes in the whole song, because if you go two-way out, a lot of notes out of that, you just kind of lose the sense that you're in that key. And so Glacial Storm has a lot of the D minor vibe to it, so I don't want to ruin that. So here you just start with the perfect ascending part. You just give it a little ladder, just sort of feel that you're growing the melody, and then you go all the way back here. Then you just ascend like crazy here and do like sort of descending vibe. Dun, 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 dun. That sound is so satisfying, right? So here I just try to add a little more pause. Dun, 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 dun. And later I decided that that would sound good if I added some harmony to that, which is the tap, the double notes in the song. And then here you just kind of go through a regular guitar solo, just like raising the ascending the melody. And then you hit this part, which is just descending with a little bit of ascending that kind of gives a more motion to the solo. Then for the next part, I was like, you know what, I should fuck everybody up and add harmonies to that, but it wasn't a challenge. I was busted. Then I just thought, okay, this solo is almost done. If I drag it too long, it's gonna be boring. So I just created a really sharp ascending part and decided to end with the melody from Glacial Storm, the ending of the melody of Glacial Storm, but in 16th notes rather than 8th notes. Right? It sounds good because it's kind of a throwback that leads us perfectly to the main melody after that. Like, I felt like I needed something that would blend with the first part of the song to introduce the old part of the song, which is basically the throwback to Glacial Storms. Alright, for this part I just get the regular vibe that all the other Glacial Storm have. Double the notes. Since this is Foreman 2, I didn't need to chop the notes. And for that, the same thing, I just added for the variation, I mean, oh fuck, clicked the wrong spot. Okay, the theme variation. I just used the same root notes as you can clearly see up here, like so I chopped those notes in a quarter, and just like that other part, I just tried to find notes that would feel good with the whole overall mood of the part. So yeah, that happened. Okay, so we come here to the fast solo section. I probably will not have time to complete this video. Fuck, I'll try to go fast here because there's nothing much to be said here. For this solo, I just was like, okay, it's time for a wild solo. So I started pretty simple, just doing, then go crazy with the same notes in the chord progression, only just shifting them a little bit just to create a more dynamic vibe to it. And then this part I was like, okay, I need a little bit of tension here so I could resolve into the main melody. This part, dun 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 dun. Oops. And I was like, trills, yeah, let's fuck everybody up. So after that part, I would just kind of imagine, okay, if the person is tapping like this, it's gonna be so mean to do like a really fast solo that involves tapping, but a little bit of one hand here as well. So this is where this came from. Okay, this part I was just a jerk to do that because those are really fast to tap trails. But if you can see, it follows the same melody. Dun, 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 dun. Only the lead parts that change. Again, I just give a little bit more focus here for the main notes, so you would feel like you're tapping that. And this part is just I don't even know what I was doing. In fact, if you see here, it's the main melody. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that, but create a really insane tapping for that, which is right, pretty simple. And then the twin solo section, I was like, yeah, I want a solo that you have to tap chords. So this is where this came from. Alright, so tap the chords. A little bit of a descending and a kind of a sweep with a little bit of tapping here to create. For me, it feels like you're creating like a more of an ending to a solo because you're just like giving your last breath to that specific solo. You add that with the sweeps here, which feel as a kind of a whole part, you know. And to end, you just do tapping with chords again because I'm that kind of a bitch. Which is pretty simple. It's the same melody from Glacial Storm. I'm only adding a little bit of a harmony there. So we go back to the guitar variation, and there's this what is it called? Unnecessary piano madness. It's not showing there, but it's called unnecessary piano madness because this was supposed to be in the piano. Because I felt like when I was writing this, like somebody just swiping his hand on a piano, obviously missing the notes that would not fit. So if you try to put that on the piano plugin here, fuck. Where is it? FL keys. Yeah, that's the kind of sound that I wanted, but it sounded so bad when I did it with the whole song behind it. So I just decided to leave it to morphing. Oh fuck. Oh yeah, I deleted it from morphing. Nice, way to go. But only the muffin wasn't enough, so I added a Sakura, which I don't remember which sound it is. Oh yeah, it's kind of a crispy sound to it. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sounds and textures and everything are on the next video, so never mind that. Okay, we have the chorus variation, we already covered. The sneaky rhythm, Glacial Storm evil thing, which is basically the same thing that I did. I only added more root notes to that evil part that I talked about in the next video. This. Yeah. So yeah, that's how that happened. And besides from this creepy choir here, which are the same chords that I did last time, right? I'm hoping you watched that video if you're watching this. And I just saw like trills. People are good at trills now, so let's test their strength. And apparently it wasn't that much trouble to anyone. Pretty basic here. It's like, let's keep going, go fast, go faster. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Pretty stupid, right? Alright, the glacial theme, and that leads us to the odd bridge. Okay, I talked about the melody behind of that, but the solo here, oh, this solo, I was just like, to match that melody, it would be perfect to have a solo that kind of feels like all over the place. So I was just like, I'm gonna use the same notes, only I will spread it throughout a lot of different octaves. So this is what happens. Which created the perfect sound that I was looking for, like something like that goes all over the place, sort of when you're tapping in your guitar, or high up in the fretboard where you're doing still sort of the bass of it with your left hand. So that was the vibe that I was looking for. Later we have the strumming solo, which just got those same notes and just replicated them here. I needed something else to bind it to the next part, which I'll call the Genty bridge. This part is uncharted. Okay, so then we have the gent part, which is like kind of the vibe that I did later, but only without the strumming. So all those focused parts, I decided to go with the triplets, so you could feel like Meshuggah. Just do that with the B flat later, dun, 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 dun. And then I decided to meld it, to blend it with the Glacial Storm main theme. Which gives the perfect comeback to another repetition of the D rhythm part. Then I just went back to the Glacial main theme, but this time I wanted you to tap those chords, not exactly the chords, but you know, not only the main strumming. So I added this little auxiliary thing here that kind of does a slow trill job with the main melody, which is this. Again, keeping the focus on the main notes. Which leads us to Cold Fucking Solo, as it's written here, because I like to write stupid bullshit when I'm doing my songs. Alright, this was pretty pretty regular, I guess. I first created the rhythm part for that, so we'll talk about that rhythm part later on another video. But the main solo just follows the overall progression of it. Now I have to figure out which plugins I used. Okay, so by this time I needed to have an idea of what kind of chart that I wanted to have. So here you have the, again, note wise, I was always going for the same notes that are in the chord progression or in the riff that is playing on the background. So for here I wanted trips, ascending trips, then descending trips, but ascending in sound. Just a little variation here with chimneys and then reverse chimneys. And for the solo, I was like, I want another solo that feels like a guitar solo, you know. That was ridiculous. I know how that sounded. So Morphine has this kind of cool vibe to create some solo that goes back and forth, which is what I was going for. So yeah, again, just use the same notes that you would, but I was, you see that this is sort of irregular, right? They don't always start and end on the same measure, which is kind of the idea. It's kind of a sloppy guitar solo that I wanted to have. You ended with a nice descending that gives a kind of a fulfillment to that particular section, and you're all good to go. Next part, again, we're focusing on the rhythm that's playing in the background. This is, I guess, Poison 3? No, it's Poison 2. It is the Lead Ninja, if I'm not mistaken. Again, this time I was kind of hoping for some fast things, some So what I did was a small ascending, but instead of completing the ascending, I just cut it in half on the middle note. So this is what I came up with. So it's that wah, 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 wah. That kind of whoop whoop effect. All right, I have not that much time left. Just go do a little sloppy thing here, and then end up with ladder, because that feels so good. It goes like a chopped ascending thing. Then you do the same thing, but with the ascending, just complement that kind of the focusing on the high notes. Then a really big sweep here, and this fucking stupid ascending here. Okay. Yeah, it goes really high. And then I was like, okay, that's enough for the solo. So I guess I used basic here. No, used Poison 3, right? Because it's Got Milk, the classic Got Milk. Same thing here. Just go for a really fast sweep here to kind of heat things up, you know. Then that's kind of the thing I wanted to create. And was like, oh, you know, you remember that part from G-Force at the end of Solo C, something like that. So, but only a lot simpler. And just end it with regular descending taps here. And then, well, no need to tell you about this chiasm following the chord progression: A flat, C, and D. And I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna do it fast here. But I was like, why not go faster for the last part? It's kind of the triplet feel. up with that. Alright. This intro part is recycled from the real intro. You see, I didn't even change it. I just used the same thing, exactly the same thing. That's a true throwback. Same with those auxiliary glacial rhythms. I just added an extra one later with a different plugin, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, different plugin, but still. And on the last one, I added a piano here, which is oh fuck. But still, I'm still following the same notes, so no surprises there. I have 5 more minutes. Oh my god, fuck me. Okay, winter variation. Like I said, I already had the chords that I wanted, so I was like, I watched my old Glacial Storm video, the first one, and I was like, oh, you know, this fits this kind of a zig pattern, only a little bit fucked up here in the middle. For this part, I wanted they have to be constant, because if you pay attention to the song, and if you didn't know about that, you will know now. If you get only the root notes here, they kind of make a rhythm for themselves. So that was what I was going for. So quick sweep here, just to use the F and then the C, and then which is what I was wanting to go for. Basic octaves. The next part is just the same thing, but with the root note added. That was going in the background. No surprises there. But I suppose I can let you know how it sounds on its own. Alright, the winter prelude is just like an F, a B flat, a D minor, a B flat, and then descending from A, G, F, E, D on the winter solo. So yeah, pretty basic sweep here. Going really high just to create a sense of urgency right before the climax of the song, which is the winter solo. So that's what the kind of vibe that I was going for. And ending perfectly on winter solo. And winter solo, as you all know, it's not a surprise. So doing the same thing here, the same notes, same melody. Only this time, since we have at our disposal the tap notes and hopo chords, I decided to go with the with an harmony here, just so I could use the excuse of doing tap notes on winter solo. But it turned out to sound a lot cooler than I was intending to. So here's the raw sound of it. It kind of sounds dramatic to me. So yeah, I was like, okay, what's after that? Trips, obviously, because we're doing single taps, we're doing chord taps now, so trips are the easier way to go. Still giving a focus on the high notes, just the main, but still having these the other notes that represents the trips to create kind of an atmosphere to the song. To feel that you're tapping trips, you need something that sounds like a wall of sound. But I just got their volume down a bit, otherwise it would become too messy and you wouldn't distinguish between the lead part, which I'm talking about obviously are these notes versus these notes. So yeah, these notes needed a greater focus than those lower notes. We have the following, so you can still feel it, you can still feel the other notes. And now the same thing, but for quads. Now, since there are a lot more notes here, at least one note per cycle, I decided to turn their volume down a lot lower, so you can still have a focus here, but still feel that you're doing a lot of things while you're doing that tap. You see the bulk of sound that's in the background. If you don't lower the volume for those notes, it's just gonna sound like a shit wall of sound. But you still want to have that kind of bulky sound in the background. So all you have to do is just do the notes that you want, but give them a little less spotlight, so to speak, in the mix. Again, you just using the same notes available for each chord that's playing on the background. That's the main catch here, so it doesn't feel like it's too dislocated. On Glacial Storm 1, I made a mistake of using a wrong note on Winter Solo, and every time I listen to that, I want to kill myself. So that's a mistake, and I will never do it again. So I thought, okay, usually Winter Solo were like last time Winter Solo were also 4 times. But this time I wanted it to, what was it, 4 times or 3 times? I don't know. But this time I added an extra one after the quads because I wanted to do the quad zigs because I am a horrible person. That's the only reason why. So yeah, I kind of did a little build up with the morphing here. As you can see, it's hard to listen on the original when you have the whole thing going on. So try to listen here now. Suppose I could solo that, but that's not worth it at all. Just got one, 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 one. And then for the quad zigs, I used the same exact thing as the quads, exactly the same thing. No difference at all, at all. I only made the focus on the main notes a lot slower because the feeling of the quad zig tapping to me comes from morphine, which has kind of this back and forth sound, like I said before. So yeah, it's the morphine that gives the little flavor to the last Winter Solo. You see that it jumps and goes back in because that's how the plugin works. So just got wow 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 wow, which is kind of what you see when you're playing quad zigs. And that ended it with quints. Remember, actually on the project, it's just morphing going doing straight thrills, but the way they sound like you're doing this kind of sweepy thing. So yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted an excuse to do quint zigs at the end. So yeah, this video is 38 minutes long, but I believe I covered everything that I wanted to. Oh yeah, and then I ended in the same way as in the beginning. No news here. I only added an extra chord to the piano, which was a whole D chord without even an F, just, and it clocked perfectly at 10 minutes. So yeah, that's about it. I really have to go now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know it's long as fuck. It's 38 minutes. I doubt anyone will watch it. But still, if you did enjoy it, just, I don't know, kill yourself. Just kidding. I appreciate it. Thanks for supporting my random blabbing here while I talk about songs that nobody cares of. So yeah, I guess that's it. I'm still gonna do I think 4 more videos. I'm gonna talk about sounds and textures, like which plugins that I use, what sounds I was going for. I'm gonna talk about the rhythms. By rhythms, I also will include the atmosphere of the song. I'll talk about the drums, which were a big part of the song, and finally I'll talk about the mixing. So yeah, 4 more long ass videos to come that probably nobody will watch it. And if you want the FLP, I will be releasing it in the last video because I need somebody to watch my videos, man. Alright, thanks for staying with me. This video is almost 40 minutes long. I'm not gonna edit this. I'm so sorry for that. But I tried to do my best to make it quick. Alright, that's it. Peace.